All right then. So now let's talk about the difference between the pixels and the the eminent points, and the root element points and the percentage. So let me give you the difference between them, right? So in that, the very first one which we are talking about, the pixels. So there are different units, which is px and eminent points and root element points, right? And of course we do have the percentage as well. As so these are the ways that we use to target these sizes. So when it comes to pixels, we know that this is the fixed pixels, which is nothing but the screen dots, right? We all know that, right? So this helps you to control the border spacings or even the content width and height, right? So we can target it by pixels. So, and of course the next one, which is going to be the eminent points, which is the parent's font size or itself for the padding or margin. So the root elements, so the eminent points which always targets the parent division elements, parent HTML elements. The root elements which always targets the HTML tag. So whatever the size I defined inside the HTML tag, it's use the multiplications of it. And the percentage, which is the relative to the parent element itself. So let me give you the brief demonstrations by using the example so you can understand it, right? So think about it that you have something pixels. So that's what we had over here, right? So now I hope you understand the sizes of the pixels. So now let's understand using this eminent points. So let's say inside the box, I do have one more division called box 2. And for that, I do have a text called hi there, right? Now I have a division box 1, and inside that I do have another division box 2, and inside that I do have a text called hi there. So inside the box 1, I define the font size as let's say 16 pixels, something like that, right? Now inside the box 2, so inside the box 1, I do have this box 2, open it. So I'm going to say font size, whatever its parent size, I need to have 2 times of its parent size. So in this case, the parent of the box 2 is the box 1. So for that, the font size, what is the size I defined? 16 pixels. So I need 2 times of the 16 pixels over here. So if you check it out, now we can see, if you check the box 2, we have the 2 eminent points, which is currently the 32 pixels. You can see that it's showing 32 pixels. The reason why, it's because box 2 will refer to what is the parent elements of the box 2. In this case, box 1 is the parent. So on that parent, I define the font size as 16 pixels. So 2 eminent point, which means currently 1 eminent point, it means 16 pixels, and 2 eminent points, which means 32 pixels. It will always target the parent font size. That is the usage of the eminent point. And now let's target the root element. So let's say in the HTML tag, let's say I do have a font size called 16 pixels, right? So here, if I, instead of em, if I say rem, let's say 4 rem, so that is going to target the root element. It is not going to target. So even if I comment this out, it will still give you the same thing, because rem will always target the root element, which is going to be your HTML. So that is the place where I define the font size. So it taking the 4 times of the particular font size. So by this way, when you're defining all these things, something like that, so that gives you the flexibility to change the font size instantly. So I just have to update it in the HTML that is going to reflect the changes all over the website, right? And that is one more options to work with all these things, which gives you the like, what is it, work with the variables. So that is the root variables. So that's we discuss later. So let's finalize these concepts like pixels, eminent points, root eminent points, and along with the percentage, we need to understand the percentage. How does the percentage work, right? So let's say I don't need the text inside over. I'm gonna close this. So this box 2, basically it needs to access the 100% of its parent element. So in this case, the percentage will target the pixel size of its parent, which is going to be the 200 pixels. So if it is trying to access the 100% of the parent, which in case it's going to take the 200 pixels available of the space, including the padding. So if you remove the padding 2020 in all the corners, it is going to take that specific available space. And let's say background, which is going to be green. Now you can't see anything. The reason because it doesn't have the height property. So let's say height 100% as well as, still you can't see anything because here also we didn't define any height. So let's say height as 250 pixels, something like that. Now you should be able to see the height, right? So when you're working with the percentage, the parent element needs to be defined perfectly with the height and everything. Then only the percentage will work based on the parent property, right? So this is all about the pixels, eminent points, root eminent points, and the percentage, which is related to the parent element, right? Pixels are fixed, right? Pixels are fixed, and eminent points, it always depends on the parent, and the root element or em, which always depends on the root element, which is going to be your html, and percentage, which is always proportional to your parent property, right? So these are the difference between the pixels, em or em, and the percentage, right? So then I'm going to show you how to work with the root variables. Along with that, we need to understand the positioning, relative positioning, absolute positioning, fixed positioning, sticking positioning. So let's break it one after another. So now let's go ahead and start discussing the root variables, how to work with the root variables.